Yes. No. You are able to see the screen, right? Yeah.
Sir.
No. Okay. So last class, so what we have done is we have seen all types of failures. Okay, so how these beams can fail. So these are the basic fundamental three modes of failure. One is through bending. So in bending also we have high shear, low shear, kind of thing. We have two criterias are there. Then we have lateral torsional buckling. So this type happens only when the beams are not restrained. Okay, so if there are no braces or there is no the compression flange is a free say, then you will have lateral torsional buckling, and that equations already we showed you, and you have to find out the critical bending moment. Okay, so how much and of course it will be reduced compared to the previous cases. Then apart from that, we also have the local failures. So in the local failures, for when it is a plate girder, say, then the shear buckling comes into picture. But we have seen two things only, that is web buckling, then web the crippling. Okay, so two things are there itself. So this also we have seen, and then the most important thing what you should understand here is, of course the formulas are there, but the most important thing is whenever there is a concentrated load, say under the load, how the stress distribution will look like. It is a very the complicated. Okay, so now so because the stress distribution will be, you see, so if you have a concentrated load, say like this, acting, you see. So if you write not your mechanics of material, the advanced from the continuum mechanics, so if you try to use the stress distributions, you see something, it will be like this. Okay, so this is the most important thing under the concentrated loads. So concentrated loads, when they're acting on the beam, are essentially near the supports. Okay, so there also you will have the support reaction. So this is also like a concentrated load. So here what happens is this area spreads basically. Okay, so something like this, the area spreads. So for this purpose, so our code says when there is a buckling, say, so buckling anyway is related to the mid portion, so where the stresses will be high. So here, so this is your, you can say, influence area or whatever of the concentrated load. And this 45 degrees comes from that shear, because at the diagonal, say, so the maximum shear stress will be located at the diagonal. And then if you do that Mohr circle, 45 degrees comes into picture. So for that purposes, it is 45 degrees has been used in the code. Okay, and so for web buckling, say, so this whatever area B1 plus N1 or whatever, so this you have to use at the diagonal. Okay, so this is the formula. If it is a concentrated, then it becomes B1 plus 2N1, because at the support, this side there is nothing is there, so we take only B1 plus N1. But under the loads, you will take B1 plus 2 times N1, and this is the, you can say, the region of influence or whatever, this itself. And then this is a web buckling also we have used. So this is the expressions, to find out the area, and then it should be more than the shear force. Then similarly, web crippling, say, so here the most important thing, web crippling happens very close. This is a junction between the, the flange and the web, say. In this portion, the small crippling occurs. So concept is same. So here also you have a concentrated load, and then, so what we do is you will have anyway the region of influence here. So B1 plus 2 times N2, say. So this is estimated very, very near to the junction actually between the web and the flange itself. So for web buckling, you take near the diagonal, and for the web crippling, say, you take at the just below, that is at the junction between the flange and the web, because there only, you see, the failure is located. Okay, so this is what we call as, you see, the local failures. So you have to handle all these things, then so your design is done. So now I have told you, like, you see, what are the basic this one. So now if you see the design procedure, say, so this is just a flow chart given in Subramaniam's book. So now this is how the steps are like. Okay, so the first step is you calculate all the service loads, like, you see, whatever dead load, live load, whatever loads are there, say, you get all these loads. Now you multiply by the load factor, so 1.5 or something given in the code, and you get the factored load. So this is the first step. Of course, this first step is same for all problems, columns or whatever. Then you have to find out the maximum bending moment diagram, shear force diagram. So all of this, how to draw the bending moment and shear force diagrams. Okay, so from this, you pick up the maximum value. values. Okay, so the maximum value, it may act below this this concentrated load or whatever. So this you have to find out. So now after this, now the design variable you have to estimate. So now here for compression member or for tension members, we had area was our the design variable. But when it comes to beams, say we have the section modulus. And here, because it is a limit state design, right? Because we are allowing, in other plastic, this one also. So the plastic section modulus, say. So this is the most important design, the variable. So this has to be estimated. You have to assume something. So this you can use this small, this equation actually. Okay, that you are that simple bending equation. M is equal to F times Z. So this equation you use. Of course, you have this safety factor or whatever we have. So from this simple bending formula, say you find out your Z, that is a plastic modulus. Some approximately you have to find out. Now you will get some approximate trial value itself. Suppose if the beam is unrestrained, say if you are having lateral torsional buckling also is acting on the beam, then you may increase the you can slightly increase your this ZPZ by some 25 to 50% or whatever you see. You have to take some more, whatever value you get, say you have to increase by 50% because its capacity will be very low because of this lateral torsional buckling. So this you have to estimate. So this is your design variable. So okay, so please remember, so for beams, say the most important design variable is this a plastic section modulus. So this you have to get it. Now once you have got this plastic section modulus, say, so now go to steel tables, or already these numbers are given in the backside of many textbooks here. So the ZPZ, you go to a table, you select a particular a beam. Generally we go for I sections, so which more or less similar to the plastic section modulus or slightly more than your value say. So this you have to find out. Now once so that section has been sorted out, so now you have to do this classification, because if you don't do the classification, say your bending capacity, right, this formula depends on your section classification also. If it is a plastic or compact, so we have to use ZP. If it is semi-compact, this is ZD you have to use. If it is a slender, say, then you may have to remove some area, effective area, and all other things have to be done. So your bending capacity depends on this section classification. So this is your next step. Then you have to check the shear capacity. So this is to find out low shear, high shear kind of thing. Because your bending capacity formulas, two formulas have been given. One is low shear, another one is a higher shear. Suppose, so this is a formula. It is very straightforward. So root 3 comes into picture, and this is a partial safety factor, and this is a area, that is overall depth of the section multiplied by the thickness of the web, because the shear is carried by the this web itself. So this you have to find out. And now the shear force, say whatever you have found out, the maximum shear force, whatever you have already calculated from the load. So this, if it is less than 0.6 times the design capacity, say, so then we call it as a low shear. Suppose if V is more than 0.6 times VD, it is the high shear. Of course, V cannot be more than VD. Suppose if V is exceeding VD, say, then it is gone. You followed it. That section itself is not correct. So you have to once again take some other section itself. So this is not allowed. So you have to check. So V will be always less than VD. So this is our requirement. So the beam will be safe in shear. Okay, if it is less than 0.6 times low shear, if it is more than 0.6 times, it is a high shear case. So this already I showed you. So when things are between, if it is in this region, say, then the unsafe, the beam is unsafe kind of thing. But in this region we have high shear, so the bending capacity decreases actually. Okay, and here it is a low shear. So shear doesn't influence your bending capacity of the beam. Okay, so two formulas. So low shear, say, this is a formula given in the IS code. So these are the numbers actually. Okay, so this is for the plastic and semi-compact. So if it is other case, you may have to change your these numbers also. Okay, and this is what is 1.2 ZD. No. So we told in the last class also why you have to do 1.2 ZD for simply supported, then 1.5 something comes for the cantilever. Why with the second formula you have to verify? We told in the last class, what is this criteria?
Serviceability criteria.
Serviceability criteria. Very easy. You can see here ZD, here the ZP. Okay, because the deflection may be, you may have other kind of problems. Now, if it is a high shear case, say, okay, so the formulas are different. So MDV they will give you. So you have to find out MD, that is a design bending moment. Say for semi-compact, you will find out, and this is the expression given in the code actual. Okay, so MD is anyway the standard, that old formula. So this is my MD, beta ZP into Fy by gamma m naught. So now it has to be reduced. So beta is a factor actual. Okay, so which depends on, this is a shear force which is coming on the beam. This is a design strength basically. Okay, so from this you find out the beta. Then you have to find out MFD, how much it has to be reduced. The plastic design strength of the area of the cross section excluding the shear area. So this is anyway ZFD and Fy by gamma m naught. So this formula is same as MD, but you have to use the plastic modulus. You have to use ZFD. So here you have subtracted the web region actually, because that is the region which is contributing to the shear, this one. So area of the web multiplied by h by 4, we have this one. So this section modulus say has to be decreased. That means you are removing the contribution of web from the design, the calculations. So this has to be subtracted, say. So this is my the design bending capacity. So compared to low shear and high shear, say. So obviously high shear case means the bending capacity of the beam, obviously you see it decreases. Okay. Now once this is done, then you have to do for the local failures. Okay, in the local failures say. So there are three things. One is the shear buckling we say, then web buckling, then we have a web crippling actual. So three cases has to be done. Now the first case, as already I told you, it is not so important for beams, but plate girders it is a very the important. So the criteria is D by TW. If it is less than or equal to 6 to 7, that means there is no chance of shear buckling. And for beams, obviously it satisfies. Okay. So this is it is safe in the this one. Okay, now when if it is web buckling, say, so now you see you have to use this expression. So AB into FCT you have to find out. So you have to design the web as a column. Okay, and the column curve C or something like that you see how to use. So the AB, that is the area, and here the most important thing is you are finding, you see here at the diagonal. Okay, so if it is under the load, say, you have to use B times T times W. Suppose if you are finding near the support, say, that becomes B1 into TW kind of thing. So this is B into TW, and B has to be calculated near the this diagonal, and the angle also 45 degrees. And if you know the bearing plate length of the bearing plate, so you can easily calculate this portion itself. So this is the trial section. So this is how you find out this web buckling. Okay. Now when it comes to web crippling, say, so here also the same formula, but only thing is you have to use this at the junction between the flange and the web, because here only crippling can occur at near this junction. So here also the same concept, but it is not 45 degrees. It is 1:2.5. So these numbers have come mostly from the experiments. And already I told you, right, whenever there is a concentrated load, say, stress distributions will not be, you will have the, the region of influence, we say. Okay, so so this based on this, say, so they take this expressions. So it already the code has given you. So A into Fy by gamma m naught. So A is TW. So this is the region. So TF plus R1. R1 anyway is a root actual. Okay, which is given in the steel tables itself. So these are the checks. So once it is done, say, now the last one is the deflection. So generally, right, deflection formula, simply supported beams, you have all the formulas are there, cantilever, PL square by 3A, so many formulas are there. So that maximum deflection, say, it should be less than L by 300. This is also available in the IS 800. You have seen long back, I showed you deflection limits they have given. Okay, so this is the last and final check. So with this, you see your beam design is complete. Now suppose if it is unsupported beam, say, so you have to do this lateral torsional buckling. So here, as already I told you, all steps are same, but the section modulus, already I told you, right, you have to increase. Previously we are taking simply M gamma by Fy. Okay, this was the starting. But now because lateral torsional buckling, right, so the strength will be less, so you increase the plastic section modulus by 25 to 50% actually, whatever you get from that approximate formula. Now after that section classification, everything remains the same. Now only thing is this is bending capacity, so you should not use those formulas. You have to use this formula given in the code actually, and I explained you last class, we have seen, right? So to find out FBD, say, okay, so there are a lot of formulas given in the code. So two ways you can do. You can use the formula MCR, all other things, or code gives a tables also. This is a very easy followed, right? So tables, two tables they have given you. One table to find out FCRB, okay? So as a KL by R and H by TF actually. Okay, so based on this one table they have given, so you can find out critical the stress that is at the extreme the fiber, that is which comes from the buckling. Now once you know FCRB, so there is another table given in the code, so where which FCRB and then yield strength of the steel, say. So two things have been given. Based on that you can find out FBD. Okay, so directly you can find out FBD from the tables. If you want, you can use the expressions also, but it will have so many warping, girping and other things will be there. You have to be very careful while using this formulas. So our easy way is this also one can use. So now the trial sections is checked for web buckling, web bearing, all these things comes into picture as a laterally supported. This is the table I showed you. So you can find out FBD, say, directly from this formula. But only thing is, how many buckling curves are there for LTB in the code? How many curves our IS code has given?
2, sir.
Excellent. For column, so this you should remember. Okay, column, how many curves have been given?
4.
4. Okay, so now why 2 curves means one curve is for welded, other curve is for rolled section, and of course welded sections capacity will be less than the obviously you can see, right? So initially it may be same because it may be the column may be stochastic. Suppose if I see slenderness ratio 90, say, the rolled is 70 but welded is 61.4 itself. Okay, so this way you can find out. Now these are some formulas for I sections. It is given in all textbooks, they would have given you, like you see, if I given I sections, how to find out the area, then moment of inertia, radius of gyration, then modulus of section, then you see elastic section modulus, plastic section modulus. So these are the standard formulas are there, which is available in any textbook you have. You can use these formulas, or you can go to steel tables, you followed it, that also you can do. Okay, so there are several things. Now before we go to this one last thing in the lateral torsional buckling, say. So if you go to our IS code, okay, so if you go to annexure E, you can see, okay. So annexure E, what happens is, now whatever we have discussed, say here, when it comes to lateral torsional buckling, I showed you only the I sections. Okay, suppose if I have a channel sections, say, or if I have an angle section, basically, okay, as we already told you, right, angle sections also we use as a beams, like in purlins and others. If I want to find out lateral torsional buckling of this angle section or channel sections, say, what's the problem with these sections? If I compare with I section and angle sections, what's the most important difference between these two? Yeah. No. See, what's the difference between angle and these sections, channels and other I section? No.
Symmetry.
No, excellent. So symmetry. So this angle section is highly unsymmetric. Not even one plane of symmetry will be there. It's will be somewhere here, and you remember principal axis symmetry will not be there. Then lateral torsional buckling of these type of shapes is very complex actually. Of course, in our stability course we do the derivation, and I think some of the videos I have not shared with you because it is not required for the course. So you can derive the formulas also for these type of the unsymmetric sections also. And not only sometimes what people do is generally when they do this I section, say, okay, so they will do unsymmetric I section also. Like you see, the top flange will be very small, but the bottom flange, you say, will be very large also. So this type of I sections also we use, which are unsymmetry in one Like this size it may be symmetric, but this way it will not be unsymmetric kind of thing. So for that lateral torsional buckling, the formula is entirely different. It is given in the annexure E. You can click this annexure E. So here this is the formula you followed. So symmetric about minor axis. You can see the formula is a very complex, because you have this YG, YJ, the centroid and all other things are very complex here. So they give this this formula, that this formula can be derived from analytical principles only, from the structural stability. Say we derive these type of formulas for any this one also. Okay, and the problem here is when the things are you will be having I think two slenderness ratio also. Now where is that? Two slenderness ratios also will be there here. And now here you can see the effective length factor in this expression. You have Q is there, and the other thing, what is that you are having there? Now we have K, that is effective length factor, you can say. And you are also having KW also, that is you have a length factor for warping also. So things are generally we take K is equal to KW only if the section is symmetric or something. But this type of sections things are much more the complicated. So IS code gives a separate annexure where you can find out the warping constants, and these constants C1, C2, C3 say in this expression they depend on the type of the load also. Okay, the type of load means how the bending moment diagram is varying. Suppose if the bending moment is constant, say, so what is the value of K, then what is the value of C1, C2, C3. So you have to pick from this figure. So this is your bending moment diagrams. Okay, so depending on psi they give this one, how it is varying, linear or this way, you have a zero movement somewhere else, or you see if it is a parabolic, say if it is like this fixed beam and all those cases, they give this C1, C2, C3 constants and K also. So what you have to do is, if you are having that type of problems, say, so you have to use this formula, not the formula given in the this one. So this formula is valid for doubly symmetric for I sections, but if I have angles or purlins or other things, then the things becomes you have to use this annexure E. So as far as this course is concerned, we will not be so we will not do this type of issues. Okay, we will go with doubly symmetric only. But you should know that if you are having angle or a channel also, there is a provision in the code you can calculate from this formula, lateral torsional buckling. Okay, and this formula is also not so great. You can derive from the analytical principles also. Okay, so just to keep this in your mind. There is annexure E, you should know. Then the design for bending itself. Now where is the bending? Yes, section 7. Okay, no, yes, section 8. Okay, so this is a bending. So this is how you have to do the design. Okay, these are the steps in the design. So these are some basic formulas for I section. Similarly, angle, there are, I think if you see any textbooks, they will give you all these numbers itself. Okay, and now let us see one problems. Like you see, so this is a typical problem given in Duggal's textbook. Okay, if all of you would be having. So you can see this problem also. Okay, so let us see the briefly the steps. So we have a simply supported beam. Okay, span is 4 meters. And it is laterally supported basically. So this is the most important step you should identify. Now, so if it is laterally supported, say what I should do. Which one I should proceed? We have two things, right? Lateral torsional buckling, or no need to worry about buckling.
Not needed.
No, buckling is not needed because it is laterally supported. That means your compression flange, which it tries to buckle, it has been restrained actually. Okay, and I also showed you, right? You can restrain the compression flange using braces, or if you are having a concrete slab, say you put it, you connect the slab to this one, or you weld, the top is also metal, so you weld the compression flange. So then you can arrest the lateral torsional buckling also. Okay, so this is the first step. You have to identify. So laterally supported means your design is very simple or very easy. No need to worry about buckling at all. Okay, and now you copy all the important things like yield stress is for 250. Okay, so all of then FYW. So this also we use. So this is also M250 MPa, and partial safety factors, say, which all of 1.1 gamma F 1.5. So you can copy. Now the load is, what type of load it is? No, it is a UDL basically 40 kilonewton. You know, right? What is the maximum? And this is a service load they have given. So the factored load, say. So you multiply 1.5 or whatever. Yeah. So 1.5 into 40. So this turns out to be 60 kilonewtons. So it is a UDL. Yeah. So now for UDL, so what is the maximum? What is the first step? You have to find out the maximum bending moment and the shear force. Now, what's the maximum bending moment for UDL? From your mechanics, you would have calculated what is the maximum bending moment in a simply supported beam subjected to UDL. Now, what's the bending moment? WL square by 8. It's standard, you see the formulas. Okay, so you dump there. So 60 followed, right? So you calculate all those things itself. So this is 30 you see kilonewton meter. So here he has given total uniform load. Be careful. Okay, so he has not given like Newton per meter. If it has given by Newton per meter, then you have to do. So already this formula is something like you say WL into this one. So this total thing he has given as 60 itself. Okay, so be careful in these steps also what they have given. And now the shear force. So what is the maximum shear force? M max. V max. Maximum shear force will be where? For UDL, where it will be maximum shear force?
At the support.
At the supports. What is the value?
WL by 2.
So 60 by 2. So this is a 30 kilonewton. So these are the first step. You have found out all the loads, that is a bending moment, shear force, because these things are required for our design. Now the next step is you have to find out the plastic section model, some trial. How much the plastic section modulus is required for this thing. So here ZPZ required. That same formulas which I showed you the steps. So that is M into simple bending formula, M times the M by F of Y. This is our expression. So you substitute, say, so 30 into 10 to the power of 6. We have to be very careful about the units. Okay, mm, cm sometimes we use. So this turns out to be 132 into 10 cube, the mm cube. So this is the required plastic section modulus. And now what is that you have to do? So you go to any backside of your textbooks or whatever. I think steel tables, I don't know whether this ZPZ will be there or there are appendices. Okay, standard textbooks they have at the backside. So you find out the ZPZ required. So from all among the IS sections, say, you select one which is slightly more than this, this thing. So now if you see the code, so there is ISLB, the tables and the backside. So ISLB 200. So this satisfies the criteria actually. Okay, so now you copy all the details of ISLB 200. So depth is 200 mm. Then breadth of the flange, say, it is 100 mm. So from the steel tables you can copy. Thickness of the flange, say, is 7.3 mm. Then radius at the root. Okay, so this is 9.5 mm. This is also very important. Okay, depth of the web. Okay, so all the things you can calculate. So depth of the web, so h minus 2 times tf plus r1. So only depth of the web we are interested. So this turns out to be 166.4 mm. So all these things are available in the tables. Okay, so IZ. So this is right. Now IZ is 96.6 into 10 to the power of 4 mm to the power of 4. Then we have a plastic section modulus. So this is 184.34 into 10 cube mm cube. Okay, then elastic section modulus also is required, because if it is a other type of cross section, so then you may have to use this also into 10 cube mm to cube itself. So these are all the numbers. So required this one was so how much was the required? 132 into 10 cube actually. Okay, so now we are providing 184.34, which is on the higher side. Okay, so these are the second step. Now the next step is you have to classify. What is that you have to use?
Section classification.
So if you don't classify section, say, so now in the bending capacity,
Sometimes you may have to use this one, or sometimes you may have to use this one also. Okay, both are required. So this may be required for serviceability, that 1.2, you know, there we use elastic thing. So this is the section classification. So this is the next step. Okay, so it's a very easy only, but only thing steps are more. Okay, so epsilon you have to find out. So 250 by f of y. So anyway, this is 1 itself. Okay, now the flange you take, say, so you know, the breadth of the flange you have to take half. All of you know, along back itself we have done this thing. So it is 50 mm. So b by t of f, say the flange and the web you have to check 50 by 7.3. So this turns out to be 6.849, which is less than 9.4. And the depth of the web, say the web also you check. So 166.4 by 5.4. So this turns out to be, you know, some 30.81. Which is less than 84. So which means flange and web are now what type of things are they? So if you remember, right? If you remember, I will show you also. See, I think where we had so that long back one slide I showed you. Remember that slide also, in the starting I showed you how do we classify the section, which is available in the IS code only. You remember, so this is the table. This is given in the table itself in the IS code. Okay, so the flange and the web, say rolled section 9.4. We have these things itself. Okay, so based on this one is given in the code, so you have to decide whether the section is plastic or whatever is that one. So this is the next step now. So now our section is elastic, sorry, the plastic section. So no issue. So the section is the plastic. So which means, you see, no need to worry. So you can use the standard, you see, the formula itself. And now here, so one more thing also, we can, of course, it will not be, we will do a later thing. Now then, what is the next step? Now, once a section has been classified, say, what is the next step? Now, what was the next step, in the design? We have seen, right, the design thing. So now the classification is over. This also is over. Now, what is the next step? What is the step number 6? Now,
Design shear.
Design shear, because you have to find out whether it is a low shear or it is a high shear. So this is the most important thing. Okay, shear capacity is the most important. So the shear capacity is anyway straightforward. So the design shear maximum V max, say, which is acting on the beam is 30 kilonewtons. Okay, so now the shear strength you have to calculate. So that same formula. So that is Fy by √3 times gamma, MW will be there. So this is also gamma M naught. So the area will be there. So area is a web actually. So H into TW we will use here. So you would use all the steps. √3, 1.1, and then you see 200 into 5.4 into 10 to the power of -3. So this turns out to be 141.713 kilonewtons. Now what is the shear force which is coming on the beam? So now what is your comment? It is safe for shear, or web is safe or not safe? So the capacity is 141, but your shear force is only 30. So what? It is safe or unsafe? It is safe actually. But now it is not sufficient, safe or unsafe. But what we have to do?
Low shear or high?
So low shear means you have to find out 0.6 times VD. That is a design capacity. Okay. So 0.6 times, the VD, if you try to find out, now 0.6 times, the VD. So 0.60% if you try to calculate, say, so this turns out to be 85.02 kilonewton. That is 65% of this itself. And now you tell me whether it is a low shear or high shear. So the shear force is 30. 0.6 times is 85. Low or high?
Low shear.
Low shear, because V is less than 0.6 times VD. Okay, so this means it is a low shear. So low shear means much more happy actually, because the design steps are not much actually. Okay, so only one equation you have to use. Now since the section is a plastic, say your beta b is 1, so now the design bending strength, so it is very easy. So beta b zpz, so the plastic thing you have to use fy by gamma times m naught. So substitute all those things, 184.34 into 10 cube. Units you have to be very careful. Somewhere we use this one 10 to the power of minus 6. So this turns out to be 41.895 kilonewtons. Okay, so this is a bending capacity, but you have to do a serviceability thing also. So there in the code we have 1.2 times thing will be there, then 1.5. So for simply supported code clearly says it should be less than 1.22 times ZE. Okay, fy by gamma times m naught. So here you have to use the elastic section modulus. That's why this also both of them are very important. Okay, so this you have to use here in this step. So here also you calculate, so 1.2 169.7 10 cube into 250 say by 1.1 into 10 to the power of minus 6. So this turns out to be 46.28. So which is fine. So this is a 41 and this is a 46.28 actual. Okay. So the design bending strength of the beam is the 41.895 kilonewtons. Now what is the bending maximum bending moment which is coming on the beam? Now, is it safe or unsafe? What is the M max? Now, what is the M max? Maximum bending moment is how much?
30.
Now, so here this problem is a peculiar. Maximum values are same, 30 itself. Now the bending capacity is how much? 41.895. So this is greater than your 30 kilonewton meter. So that means your design is perfectly fine itself. Okay. And now what is the next step? Now next step is you have to check for. See here the design steps. So now once this bending capacity is done, say low shear or high shear, the next thing you have to do for what is the mode of failure?
Web buckling.
Web buckling, web crippling also. Of course, shear buckling also you have to verify. Okay. So for that, so D by T times W. So this should be less than this. I think 67, right? There they have mentioned. So 67. So this is a criteria. Okay. So then there is no chance of shear buckling. So when we did classification of the sections, say, so we got 30.81, which is less than 67. So this place say there is no chance of no shear buckling can occur here. You followed, there is no chance of shear buckling. Now on the code also specifies no shear buckling, and the code also what it says is if you read the clause carefully, if D by T is less than 67 say, and then if the case is low shear, you followed, and because we are having no shear buckling and then it is a low shear, no need to check web buckling at all. You followed. So this also is a criteria. So web will be very strong. You can check also. If you check also, it will be safe only. So web buckling is not an important issue when D by T is less than 67 and then low shear case. Now this problem we have low shear also and D by T also. You can see that clause if you read, you can see if D by T is less than 67 say. Of course, stiffeners, we don't use for beams, we use for plate girder. The web is generally considered to be safe in the web buckling. Okay. And shear, the strength of the web is governed by the plastic shear resistance. So this is the most important thing. It is under the low shear. Now, but however, you can see, in the case of high shear, say, even if this limit is satisfied, the web should be checked for buckling actually. So now what does it tells me? So now in this problem, whether web buckling we have to do or we should not do.
Not needed.
Not, but if you want, you can do also. There is nothing, it is just one formula, one step you may have to do. So this is a code. But if this, although this criteria is satisfied, say, but if it is high shear, then you have to do the calculations. Okay. So you can do it also. You verify. I will say that as per IS code, not required, but you people can easily verify. It's not a big deal. Okay. So web buckling is not required. So now you have to check only web crippling actually. So this is the one you have to use actually. Okay. Now for web crippling, say, so this is a formula, you should use, which is given in the code, but this 2n1 and all other things, say, you require this the bearing length basically. Okay. So whenever there is concentrated load, say, what will be the stress near the concentrated load here? Tip. Mechanics, what will be the stress below the load near the tip? If the load is a P, say, just below the concentrated load, so what is the value? Stress. What is sigma? What is the expression? How do you calculate sigma? If P is known, area is known.
P by A.
P by A. Excellent. Now you tell me what is the stress here?
Very large.
No, very large, but how much it will be? If you go by the formula, what is area? It is a point right below the load. So area is almost
0.
So what will be the stress? Just below the concentrated load, it is infinite. You followed. Infinite stress will be, of course. In reality, we don't have like infinite. This is also a problem in continuum mechanics. Okay, that assumptions of those things, that's a thing in the continuum, but in reality it doesn't happen. Infinite stress. If it is infinite stress, say, then no structure should stand if there is a concentrated load, but it not followed it. This assumption or whatever. So generally what we try to do is, it will not be infinite, but it will be very, very large. Okay, so what they try to do is to make it, to decrease this, to make it distributed, say, what they do is they put a bearing plate actually. Okay, so that the load will be, so instead of directly coming on your beam, say, it will be little bit distributed around some followed at the region B. Okay, so this is bearing thing. Now here the most important thing, your bearing strength is FW. It depends on the area and obviously depends on your B. Now suppose so now what is your design variable here? So where this web crippling side depends on which one? FW depends on AE, and AE is depending on B. Once you know B, you can N1 also depends on B itself. And thickness of web anyway is in you can't change actually. Okay, it is a rolled section. So the most important thing which you can change is which one here in this formula, which is in your hand.
B.
Now B is in your hand actually. Okay, so suppose if it fails, say, web crippling is going to happen. If you want to increase the capacity, say, what you should do? Which variable you can change? I want to increase FW. I know the capacity I want to increase actually. So now what is that is in your hand. See, I want to increase FW. Now, how do I increase FW? Thickness of the web I can't do. That is not in my hand. So all other thing, thickness of flange I can't do. Radius, root radius, that also I can't do. Which one I can? It is in my hand now. Now, which one is there in my hand? Now, what is that design variable here? See, if I want to increase FW, I increase. Utkarsh, please tell me one second.
Width of bearing plate.
Width of the bearing plate. The B is our variable. Okay, so that is in my hand itself. Okay, so now what we try to do here is so now for web crippling, so we have to assume B. So this is assumed generally in practice. We take 75 mm, 100 mm, the width. Suppose if it is failing under 75, say, what you will do? You have to increase. So for this problem, I will take 75 mm is the width of the plate. This is an assumption. Generally, we assume actual. Okay, but if you want to calculate, you see, so you can you follow right. You can assume 100 or whatever also. So now you find out the bearing strength or crippling strength. Both the words are same. So FW say. So this becomes so we are the support. You can find out at the support or you can find out at the. Now here in this problem, say where this web crippling will occur. This is a simply supported beam actually. Where you have to calculate. Tell me. See, web crippling happens at which place? It happens only near the concentrated loads. Okay, but here the problem, it is a UDL actually. Now, where you have to do this calculation, where your web can cripple.
At the supports.
Because at the support still, although the load is a UDL, but at the support it is still concentrated load only. You followed. So you have to use here. So B plus N1 only will be there. So you have to check only at the support. No need to do under the load because it is a UDL. Okay. So your FW. So this the area will be this thing, and F whatever you followed at gamma times M0 yield strength of the web actual. So now here you have to do this N1. So this N1 that is 2.5 times you see. TF plus root and other things will be there. These are all given in the steel tables. So 7.3 plus 9.5. So this turns out to be 42, mm. So your FW say, okay, 75 plus 42 multiplied by 54 multiplied by 250. Sorry, 5.4. This is 1.1 into 10 to the power of minus 3. So this turns out to be 143.59 kilonewtons actually. Now what is the maximum shear force?
30 kilonewton.
So it is safe or unsafe?
Safe.
Yeah. So now this is so your web crippling is done. Web buckling no need to do because it is a low shear, and this is a D by T also is less than 67. Okay. And now what is the last step? Now, once you have done all the failures, the last step is
Deflection.
that is the most important thing. Now what is the maximum deflection for a simply supported beam under UDL? You have done in structure analysis, other courses also. Any of you remember the formula for UDL under simply supported beam UDL? What is the maximum deflection? You remember? 5 by 384. You remember these formulas? 5 by 384 double EL to the power of 4 by EI. So you dump all your numbers here, Young's modulus, everything, So this turns out to be 9.82 mm actually. So this is the maximum deflection in the beam itself from the load. Okay. Now permissible deflection is L by 300. So span is 4 into 4000, that has given. So span of the beam already it is given 4 meters was the effective span or whatever. So now, so this turns out to be how much? 13.13 mm. So now what is your thing? What is the comment? Safe or unsafe? Serviceability or deflection criteria?
Safe, sir.
It is safe only. So that's all. You followed it. So it is a very, very easy, the problem itself. So this is very easy because low shear. Okay. Now if you see this another problem also, it is given in the Duggal's book. So here in this problem say, okay, so this is a high shear, the problem itself. So I will not go into all the steps. They are all same itself. So he does, he has taken, I think, one section and he got unsafe also. So for this problem say, just, I will just briefly mention you. So the plastic section, all the things. Maximum directly he has given the bending moment. He has given the shear force also. No need for you to do any this one. And it is laterally supported. So that LTB need not be checked at all. Okay. So now you find out the plastic section modulus required. So from that formula, M into gamma M0 by F of Y. Okay. So if you do, this turns out to be 660 into 10 cube, mm cube. So this is a required plastic section modulus. So from that, you take ISLB 350. He has done for one and it was unsafe, so he changed it also. ISLB 350 you take from the tables say. So you copy all the things. 350, breadth of the flange is 165. Then thickness of the flange is 11.4. Then thickness of the web is 7.4. Radius at the root or whatever. Okay, 16 mm. Then depth of the web. So this also you can calculate. So this turns out to be 295.2. Moment of inertia. The plastic section modulus 851.11. Okay, into 10 cube. Then elastic section modulus. This is also required for serviceability. That simply supported calc 1.2 this one. So you do all this classification. Okay. Now the section classification you have to do. So here also it is straightforward. So you already know this one. So B by T of F say. So 82.5 by 11.4, 7.23. So many textbooks, what they have done is they have already given the section classification also in the appendix. No need for you to calculate also. So already all the things are nicely given in the tables. So 39.9, it is less than 84, it is less than 9. So what type of section it is? Now what is the section classification? What type of section it is? Less than 84, less than 84? No.
Plastic.
It is a plastic. Okay, so this is done. So now shear capacity. So this is a maximum shear force is 210 kilonewton. Now you find out the design shear force. So you know this expression √3 gamma times m naught h times tw. So this turns out to be 340. So this is also safe actually. Okay, but the problem is you have to find out for the high shear 0.6 times Vd. If you take it is a 204 kilonewton. Now what is the problem? High shear or low shear? Your shear force is greater than 0.6 times Vd. You followed. So which means it is a high shear. You followed the high shear case it comes. So now your formula says so md. So you have to use this expression md minus beta. So md minus you see mfd. So this formula has to be used. So you have all the set of formulas. Beta means 2 into v by vd minus 1 whole square. So v is anyway 210. Vd is this is 340. You can use all those numbers. So 0.0554 just a substitution. Okay, and md you can calculate zpz into fy by gamma times m naught. So this is 193.43. Then z this fd, that is you have to subtract the web area actually. Okay, aw into yw. Okay, we are removing the web from the plastic section modulus. So this also straightforward formulas are there. So 624.485 into 10 cube. Then mfd, this also you calculate. Okay, all other zfd into fy by gamma times m naught. So this turns out to be I think 141.93. So now you substitute everything say in our calculation. So mdv turns out to be 190.57 kilonewton meter. So this is the bending capacity of your beam. So original capacity was how much? If it was low shear say, you should use this the formula, that is 193.43 was the original thing. Because of high shear case say, now we have subtracted and this is the capacity. Now you tell me whether any grade change is there. See, if the beam was low shear say, in the low shear this formula only we used, right? Zpz into fy by gamma times m naught actual. Okay, so this expression we used zpz into fy by gamma times m naught only. But since it is a high shear, we have subtracted and we have done all the calculation. Now you comment. Now what is your comment here? How much you have lost due to high shear? See, there was, if it was a low shear say, this was our thing. Because of high shear, this portion has been subtracted. What is 193 and 190? What is your comment here? And you have subtracted only the web portion only. What is your comment here? So webs give any the bending moment. What is happening here? Huge change or less change?
Less change.
Very less change. So this is very important. So what does it means? So your web say you have removed the contribution of the web actually. So when you remove, so whole bending moment is carried by the flanges. That is the most important thing. So web will carry very less the contribution you see in carrying the bending capacity. Okay, so this way you can find out the bending capacity of the this one also. Okay, so I will stop here. We will continue in our next class. Okay. Now stop.